in our last section here, we're going to talk about ethical research with animals. And I know that many people have issues with animals being used for research. However, they are only used in ways that have ethical boundaries established. So we sometimes hear a lot in the media about how mistreated animals are when they're used in research, and I know that there are a lot of organizations that are very diligent in assuring ethical care of animals that are used for research. But psychology actually does a lot of studies, and an important part of that kind of work is teaching in the research on the behavior of non-human animals, which contributes to the understanding of basic principles that are underlying behavior and advancing the welfare of both animals and humans. So while psychologists must conduct their teaching and research in a manner consonant with relevant laws and regulations, ethical concerns further mandate that psychologists consider the cost and the benefits of procedures involving animals before proceeding with those activities. So they don't do it helter-skelter without care and concern. The following guidelines were developed by the American Association APA Association for use by psychologists when they were working with non-human animals, and it's in section 8.09 of the Ethical Principles of Psychologists and Code of Conduct, and you should have that document. The acquisition, care, housing, use, and disposition of non-human animals in research must be in compliance with applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, institutional policies, and with the international conventions to which the United States is a party. APA members working outside the United States must also follow all applicable laws and regulations of the country in which they conduct research. And this is all straight from the APA website. Researchers must make every effort to minimize discomfort, illness, and pain. And the thing you need to think about is there's actually only a small percentage of studies that use animals, and those are mainly mice, rats, rabbits, and birds. And I'm not saying that those are not important, but truthfully, I would think that in the worst studies, they would probably have a better life than the mice my cats catch in the barn. Um, anyway, sociologists and psychologists have used these for a reason. Um, they can study the effects of aging on mice and rats much easier than they can study it on humans, since the average lifespan for a rat is only about 2 years. So you can see that you could study a lot of rats before you studied one human when you're looking at the effects of aging. And it's also possible to provide greater experimental control over non-humans and to carry out procedures that might not be possible with people. So if you're doing a study that requires a large number of participants that share similar backgrounds or have been exposed to a particular environment, it's a lot easier to find mice or rats or than it would be to find enough people. Research and to afford to use enough people. Research with animals have provided psychologists with information that's been very important in the treatment of humans. They've proved beneficial in research on childhood eye disorders. There's been studies where they were successful in using animals to learn things to help them reduce chronic pain, and there's a lot more benefits than you really want me to list. But all research with animals must be carefully reviewed beforehand to be sure it's conducted ethically, and you actually have to get permission to do any kind of research with animals just as you would with humans.